Hello, this is the trade site U.S. stocks and futures market preview and domestic, excuse me, economic data roadmap for the week beginning Monday, the 15th of August, 2016, ending Friday, the 19th. It is, believe it or not, options expiration week already for August, which has turned into one of the slowest months, slowest weeks here. We just had the slowest week of the year, volume-wise, and obviously summer doldrums are still here. But this is the time of year last year is the next week where things started to pick up in the sense that everything tanked, but volume picked up after that options expiration. So let's be careful, not get complacent here. There might be some good opportunities. You show up every day, just in case. You never know. Here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. This is the S&P 500 daily chart in futures form, which is the proper way to look at the market. Obviously, very flat and basically untradeable for the last month, except for a couple of days. The futures have had a rough time. Our opening range plays have worked great. A couple of our other system plays have worked great when they have triggered. Not that they trigger every day, but in terms of like general trade setups for futures, it's been limited because there's no range. Here's a look at the, we'll go through all the major stuff that we usually follow. So here's crude oil gained 99 cents on Friday to 44.50. Note that we have a green static trend line up around 46 and change. That'll be the current short-term target. Gold down $8.10. S&P cash index down 174. NDX up 377. By the way, does that get us? Let me go to projection mode. Listen for this. I'm going to mute this so you don't get the sound. Do we get the 13 out of that? We did. We now have a 13 sell signal on the Nasdaq 100 index. So let's count the things that indicate maybe a top in the market, because we certainly don't have as much except for the general construction that says up. This is a sell signal on the Nasdaq, and with that sell signal comes a target on the downside of that red line, which is 44 or 43 and change, which is a good 400 something points below. SOX up $3.58, new closing high on the SOX, but just barely. Flat day overall. Biotech's up 6. Again, that's a blink for the biotechs. VIX down 13. Still in that 11 range. That's horrible. Remember, that's what happened last year, and a VIX reading this low is also a negative for the market. So we've got a negative reading there as well. That could lead to a rollover. So we've got that Nasdaq sell signal. We've got the low VIX. Those are both negatives. Remember, we didn't talk about this because we didn't have a preview for Friday on Thursday, but the trend closed at 0.5 on Thursday. That does bring the moving average down to 1 even. The thing is to count backwards the dots, because the 10-day moving average is the last 10 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 days back is that high reading at 1.5. So that means after Monday, that big number of 1.5 is going to come off the moving average. And if we get another low number, probably not as low as 0.5, but any low number, that could drop that moving average quite a bit, actually. So just be aware of that, because again, last month we did dip under 0.85 on the 10-day moving average. That's basically topped us out here in the market. We haven't gone anywhere to speak of since. Anytime you get a reading that low on the 10-day, that's also a sell signal. Nasdaq volume, horrible for the whole week. Really bad Thursday and Friday, 1.3 and change. Two of the lightest trading days of actually the whole year, except for a Good Friday or whatever that was, Columbus Day, something, or Veterans Day, something back in March. I think that was around Easter, maybe the Monday after Easter. Other than that, two of the lightest days of the year. Nasdaq advanced decline ratio negative 114. New York negative 77. That means there's just 77 more stocks down than up for the session on Friday. Google lost $1.15. Remember, they got a 13 sell signal the other day, so there's another sign of a top. A big stock like Google getting a sell signal, that's significant. Apple, which ran all the way up. Look at that green static trend line. Anybody who doesn't understand static trend lines does not understand the market. Look at how, of all the places to stop, it's not the high point on the chart from back in April or March. It is a specific area, a specific line. That is a wall, and it cannot get through. Amazon trucking its way towards a 13 sell signal potentially, but it was up $1.32, and Netflix up 70 cents. So, I'm not saying there's massive indications of the market rolling over here. Last year there weren't either, and we did about a week from now start to roll over, and it was a sharp drop, as you know. So anything can happen, but it certainly doesn't seem like there's a lot of pure raw upside potential right now, in the sense that there's not a lot of great construction and signals leading upwards. All right, let's look at the intra-week action. So here's the ES. High to low for the week is only 18 points, 17 points, something like that. That's really poor. It trades more than that per day on average. So Monday, a little gap up, filled, flat. Tuesday, a little gap up, went higher, came back to fill the gap and flat. Wednesday opened with a small gap up that filled immediately. There were a couple pushes down and then came back a little bit. Thursday, gap up, little pullback, could not fill the gap and pushed back up. Friday, gap down and barely reached up to fill the gap. That was the high, closed even. Whole week's in a narrow range, and we didn't really leave gaps behind except for that little one lower from Wednesday going into Thursday. But again, it's just such narrow range in general. That's the problem. Almost no counts. There's not even barely any 9-bar startup counts on the 10-minute charts for the whole week. And that's not normal. Now, there's a few more here on the Nasdaq side. Generally the same. You can see that gap that was left behind Wednesday. All right, let's take a look at the economic data here in the U.S. for the week ahead. Again, the key is it's options expiration Friday, which means Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, we'll get an options unraveling move. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the options positions right now are not that big because there's been so little volume in the market, and with that means maybe we won't get much of an options unraveling move. Same thing last August, but the flip side is to that, when you don't have a lot of options interest, it means you don't have that much protection out there on the market, and so if there is a rollover, if there's something that shocks the market to the downside, it can lead to an actually decent move. That's what happened last year because they're not protected. The positions are not protected. Monday, Empire Manufacturing, NAHB Housing Market Index, net long-term tick flows, none of that's a big deal. Tuesday, housing starts and building permits with the CPI. CPI is a big number. And then capacity utilization, industrial production. Wednesday, MBA mortgage index, crude oil inventories, that's the weekly number, and the minutes from the last Fed meeting get released. Thursday, initial and continuing jobless claims, that's the weekly number. Philly Fed, leading indicators, and the weekly natty gas. Friday, no data, it's just options expiration. CPI is the biggest number of the week. If we don't see volume come back, don't expect much more than this week, so we'll be watching volume. Last week, the volume dip was only 1 week, and then things started to pick up, but we shot lower. We've got that VIX reading. We've got that sell signal on the Nasdaq. You know, again, I'm not saying anything's going to plunge like it did last year, but even if it just starts to head down from here, maybe it picks up a little bit of volume and speed in that move, and it'll be good for us from a trading perspective. Otherwise, Labor Day is only a couple weeks away. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal 12. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.